Did you know that the debate about Britain rejoining the European Union is heating up again? Recently, at a major discussion, powerful arguments were made about how Brexit has impacted the country and whether reversing that decision could make Britain stronger. The debate, led by Rosalie Chapman, shed light on the real effects of Brexit and why rejoining the EU might be the best way forward. So, what exactly was said? Let's break it down. The EU has never been perfect. No one is claiming that. But what Rosalie Chapman and her supporters argued is that being part of the EU provided key benefits that Brexit took away. From trade and science to security and global influence, she says Britain was stronger as part of the European Union. And now, the consequences of leaving are becoming clearer than ever. One of the biggest selling points of Brexit was that it would give the UK more money, specifically $350 million per week for the NHS. But years later, what has actually happened? The NHS is facing some of its worst challenges ever. Ambulance wait times are longer than before, hospitals are overwhelmed, and staffing shortages are a growing crisis. Instead of getting better, things seem to be getting worse. So where did all that extra money go? And it wasn't just healthcare. People were told that Brexit would lead to a stronger economy with new trade deals around the world. But the reality? Trade has become more difficult. Small businesses that relied on European markets are now buried in paperwork. The fishing industry, which was promised a brighter future, is struggling under new restrictions. Exports have dropped, investment is falling, and jobs have been lost. Chapman argues that Brexit didn't deliver what was promised. It made things harder. Think about it. Before Brexit, UK businesses had seamless access to the biggest economic bloc in the world. Now, trade with the EU involves complex customs checks and higher costs. British farmers are struggling. Manufacturers are losing clients in Europe. And let's not forget about immigration. Despite promises of cutting numbers, net migration has actually increased since Brexit. So, if Brexit was supposed to fix these problems, why are they getting worse? And it's not just businesses. It's young people too. Before Brexit, UK students had access to the Erasmus program, which allowed them to study across Europe. That opportunity? Gone. Job prospects across the EU? Now much harder. Scientists and researchers who once worked on major European projects? They're now struggling to get funding. The UK, once at the center of European research and education, is now missing out. Chapman argues that Brexit has limited opportunities, especially for young people who had no say in the referendum. Now, in this debate, the opposition argued that Brexit was about sovereignty, taking back control of laws and borders. But Chapman countered this by asking, what does sovereignty mean if we are weaker, poorer, and have fewer opportunities? Even some Brexit supporters are starting to admit that things haven't gone as planned. Sir Desmond Swain, a strong Brexiteer, once dismissed concerns about economic trouble, but later admitted that trade restrictions have become a monstrous burden. So, if even some of Brexit's strongest supporters are reconsidering, what does that say? Another key speaker in this debate was Baroness Claire Fox. She has long supported Brexit and even argued that leaving the EU was about independence and free speech. But Chapman pushed back, questioning whether the UK really has more independence now. In the past, Britain had a seat at the EU table, helping to shape policies. Now, it has to accept rules made by the EU without having any say. Is that really more control, or is it just isolation? So the big question, can Britain rejoin the EU? Chapman argues that not only is it possible, but it may be necessary for the country's future. Of course, rejoining won't be easy. The EU would have conditions, and there would be a long negotiation process. But the key point is, do the benefits of EU membership outweigh the struggles of Brexit? And if Brexit has made life harder for businesses, students, workers, and families, is it time to rethink the decision? Public opinion is shifting. More and more people are questioning whether Brexit was the right move. And as time goes on, discussions about rejoining the EU are only growing louder. The question is, what do the British people want now? Now, we want to hear from you. Do you think Britain should fight to rejoin the EU, or should it stay independent despite the challenges? Was Brexit a mistake, or was it the right move for the country? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the biggest issues shaping the world today.